Okay, so the third savoury dish we're going to do today is an aromatic duck curry. Curries are one of my favourite things to cook and eat. It can be a lot of work making the paste. By the time you chop up your lemongrass, your chilies, or your soak-dried chilies, do all that sort of stuff, it is quite labour-intensive, but it's one of those things that if you're home on the weekend on a Sunday and you've got a bit of time, it's really nice to spend an afternoon in the kitchen doing it the right, as authentically as you can. Of course, you can buy a paste to substitute. I Am brand is it's a Thai brand of curry paste, but they're pretty good generally. But I find with the brought paste, they often have sort of thickening agents and stuff in them. So when you make the curries, they do go kind of gluggy and a little bit sort of just not the same as if you've done it yourself. With the curry paste, you can definitely make a really large batch and freeze it down in portions, and then just whip it out, and you can make it a really quick meal through the week.
And do you like to do it the hand with the mortar and pestle?
If I'm doing like this size batch, like a mortar and pestle is always better because by pounding it out, you're really releasing all the oils and the natural flavours in there, as opposed to a blender that'll sort of chop it. It's sort of a hard one. Like if you're just doing a batch this size, definitely, but if you're making a bigger batch, you'll end up with a dead arm before you get your paste finished.
So food processor it goes.
Yeah, it's a better way to do it. But look, if you can't be bothered, it is fine to do it.
They're all a bit tight for
exactly, yeah, for sure.
Big option.
So we're doing duck. This could be substituted for chicken. It's more of a poultry style curry. Beef's probably a bit too full on for it, and it'll sort of dominate seafood too much. But in saying that, you could just make the curry and serve it with some tofu and some vegetables. It's really nice as well. Tofu is definitely, I love to eat tofu. It's such an underrated food. I think it's prepared badly often, so that sort of turns people off, but a good dish with tofu is awesome. It's really good food.
So what's a good way to prepare it, Matt, would you say? Do people overcook it when you say it's
I think for your harder sort of tofus, you can just dice it up and chuck it in your curry at the end. Silken tofu is my favourite, just in a little bit of rice flour and fried with some 5 spice or something like that, so you get a lovely crisp outside and a soft fluffy middle, which is really good. So again, nice and hot, plenty of oil. Thank you. So for the duck component in this curry, we've got some duck legs that we've just simply put into a tray, coconut milk to just cover, and then basically roasted. So the fat from the duck will sort of render out, it'll come together with the coconut really nicely, and then that coconut milk can then be used back into the curry. So you're not losing any of your flavours through that. You can cook the duck in the curry, but I find it's kind of nice to do it separately. You don't get all the blood and the juice and stuff going into your curry to dilute the flavour of it. So it's sort of good to keep them separate. So again, we'll just keep that moving. It's a bit of a funny one for me cooking Thai food because you have to use a lot of imported ingredients, which again isn't really in our ethos, but it's one of those things that it's just, I really like to eat Thai food. So I Am brand coconut milk is, I find, the best. If you really want to do it properly, you can make your own coconut milk, but that's a serious sort of job.
Sometimes I think you do have to make that compromise because of where ingredients are sourced, that there's just really no alternative, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a really hard one with Asian food. I mean, Kylie Kwong in Sydney, Billy Kwong's, she does an amazing job cooking Chinese sort of style food with all organic ingredients, which is, that's a big effort. That's really cool. But again, we're not completely against imported ingredients. I mean, it's a global village now, and we need to support people all over the place. And if people are doing things ethically and sustainably, there's no reason you can't use that stuff. It's near impossible to use everything from Australia, especially with this sort of food. So again, just being conscious of how it's produced and how it's made.
Certainly hits you in the back of the throat when it's cooking.
So once that paste is really nice and aromatic, we're just going to get this coconut milk in there.
So you're using cream or a milk?
Milk. This I Am one, it's really thick and creamy, so it's
Do you like a teaspoon, or is that?
It's alright, we'll make do.
Okay.
So we got a couple of tins in there.
I think sometimes it gets confusing for people, milk or cream. Do you have a preference whether you go for the coconut milk or coconut cream?
It depends on what you're doing. I like to use coconut cream in some desserts, I think. But again, if you've got a good quality coconut milk, it's good enough. So
It's certainly a nice thick one. I can see that one. It's
Yeah.
very creamy anyway, which is good.
and there.
Beautiful.
We'll just get one more tin in there. So again, this the more, if you want a really pungent, hardcore Thai style curry, you'd put less coconut milk, so it's quite intense from the paste. But this is sort of, I like to keep this one a little bit more on the mild side because it's more of an aromatic curry. Obviously, it's an aromatic duck curry, but as opposed to a really hot spicy curry. Again, it's just trying to balance your flavours. You can have loads of chili, so you get that lovely flavour, especially when you're using dry chilies, you get a really lovely smoky sort of flavour. But that can be counteracted by things like palm sugar, lime juice and that. So it's just, again, just thinking how different flavours come together and just balancing those flavours.
And tasting, I think, as you go along.
Yeah, you can never taste too much. And if you're tasting food at each step, so step 1, step 2, step 3, then you can really understand what's going on and why certain things affect certain things differently. So we're just going to bring that up, stir that through. It's as simple as now just to put these duck legs in.
So they've been pre-cooked, you were saying?
Yes, these are the pre-roasted in the coconut milk.
Beautiful.
So
And could you, if you wanted to, dice those up to serve them?
yeah, most definitely. You can cut it into chunks and throw it through. I kind of like to leave it on the bone. It just by the time it warms up, you can sort of shred it apart anyway. And I think if you take all the meat off and then put it through, it'll go a little bit mushy and sort of cook with the curry, and it'll become, it'll taste nice, but the texture mightn't be so great.
So you'd like to leave it cold and then shred it for
Yeah. So, again, I'm just going to chuck some asparagus in. Asparagus just come into season, so it's at its best. It's probably a little bit expensive-ish because it is the start of the season, but in a couple of weeks it'll be more readily available and a lot cheaper. So because this asparagus it's not too big, but it's not really young and tender, so we just peel the end bits, so it's not to lose that fibrous-y stringy bits. And again, we're just going to just cut this on an angle.
Good rice to go with it.
So with this curry, we're going to serve some jasmine rice, cooked in the steam oven again. I can never cook rice as good as these steam ovens. I don't know what the secret is there, but it's the best thing for cooking rice. Better than a rice cooker, better than a pot. And it's really easy. It's just a matter of putting your rice in with the water in the oven for 10
to 14 minutes.
14 minutes.
He came in, and this is the thing with, everything's individual and taste. And Matt said to Kathy and myself, how long do you girls normally give rice in the steamer? And we both said, Kathy said 10, I said 14. It's just personal preference how you like it. So Matt's like, okay, 10, 14, whatever, just do it. How does that look?
Yeah, so this rice, once it comes out, just run a fork through it. It's nice and fluffy.
There's a bowl there, is that?
Yeah, I'll serve the curry in that one, put the rice in this one. So again, serve this in a nice big plate in the middle of the table. And so this rice can, if you're having a dinner party or whatever, it can be chucked in the steam oven. It'll hold really nicely in there as well. It'll keep warm and won't overcook. So fried shallots, again, you can buy them. If you're feeling adventurous, you can do them at home in just fried in vegetable oil at a sort of very moderate heat, about 150 degrees. Plenty of them on top.
Do they take long to colour up when you do them?
They'll take about, depending on the shallots and the moisture, the water content in them, they'll take about sort of 8 to 10 minutes. Plenty of them on top. And so the asparagus, I like to keep it really crisp. I don't like it when it goes soft and mushy, so I've just put that in. Really just going to stir it through, and it's good to go. This gives a lovely texture. Stays really vibrant in colour. So we'll just take this duck out.
must say I'm very impressed with those tongs. They're like a giant pair of tweezers.
I find
They
in
look
the
like they're a very favourite utensil of yours.
they are. I think when you're in service in the kitchen, like big clumpy tongs all over the place. It's sort of like on tongs they have the little ripples in the edge, and like all sorts of stuff gets caught up
it
in there.
messes
So
them up, yeah,
it's just really clean. And
Do you like a big spoon?
I reckon I'll just pour that straight over.
Okay. Wow, that looks fantastic. All that beautiful sauce to go through the rice.
Yeah, and this once this curry's done, it'll keep for a couple of days in the fridge, so it's always good for
They
lunches
say a
and
good
stuff like that.
curry improves in flavour, don't they?
Even better the next day.
Exactly.
So there's our curry. Again, we'll get some shallots on there. Take a few kaffir lime leaves and we'll just shred them up. Just really nice and fine with these, just because they are quite hardcore, but it gives a lovely aromatic sort of flavour and taste. Sprinkle them over. As they hit the curry, you'll get this really lovely waft of fresh lime leaf flavour.
And if you haven't got kaffir lime leaves or you can't get them, because sometimes they can be difficult for some people, could you just grate a bit of lime?
Yeah, a bit of lime zest over the top. Yeah, that's a nice little substitute. So again, with the Thai basil, coriander.
That's why it's so good to have the herbs growing as our wonderful herb display that we've got up there. All growing in compost, we were told by Yost yesterday, who designed the living wall for our display, that they're actually growing those herbs and rocket and lettuce in compost from the restaurant.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, in Silo we have the food dehydrator. All of the waste, the compost that's come from that is in these pots, and look at those herbs, they're thriving, they're going really well. Thanks everyone for coming down today. Thanks to the fabulous team here at Miller, and thanks Grand Designs Live Australia. Cheers.
Excellent.